I know you got a good job, but you're not my favorite student. You know who my favorite student is? Good old Anne. She gets everything right. How can you not enjoy teaching Anne Serkey? Number one, so on your test, you're going to have probably 4 questions where you have to write a number in scientific notation. You need to be able to do it, I guess I'll say, Ashley, in your head. And what I mean by in your head is without technology. So 55,000, that's going to be 5.5 times 10 to the 4th. Half mark for the 5.5, half mark for the 10 to the 4th. (4.2) times 10 to the negative 2 or 3? 2. 3.64 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And 1.236 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7? I think so. Hopefully that's like, as long as you're not careless, close to free marks, right? Perform the following operations on your calculator. Use the correct number of Sig Figs and express your answer in scientific notation. I'm big on like underlining stuff. So instructions and things helps me remember to do it. Okay, 2 Sig Figs. 2 Sig Figs. I guess I'm going to go to 2 Sig Figs in my answer. I'm going to type on my calculator 7.1 scientific notation button negative 4 times 3.6 scientific notation button negative 7, and I get 2. How many Sig Figs am I going to go to? I guess that first 5 is the second Sig Fig. Is that 5 going to stay a 5 or become a 6? So 2.6 times 10 to the negative 10. By the way, if you write this, because that's what your calculator says, I won't take marks off, but please understand that that shrunken capital E is an abbrev for times 10 to the power of 3 Sig Figs, 2 Sig Figs. I'm going to go to 2 Sig Figs. 1.42 scientific notation button negative 5 divided by 4.3 scientific notation button negative 15. My calculator gave this to me in standard form. Probably most of your calculators converted this to scientific notation. I've got a 10 character display. Most of yours have a 9 or an 8 character display. But regardless, the second 3 is the second Sig Fig. Is that 3 going to stay a 3 or become a 4? Stays a 3. I'm going to write this in scientific notation because the instructions said so. 3.3 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9? Yeah? Okay. Adding and subtracting with Sig Figs. All right. What I said to you last time was I'm going to turn this into a question that I already know how to do. What do I mean by that? Read, I'm not really sure. I don't have an easy, clever way to add and subtract Sig Figs in scientific notation, so I'll unscientific notation them. I'll write them in standard form. It's going to be 0.006, and I guess I got to put the 0 there because they put the 0 there. It must be significant. And it's going to be 0.00035. So I'll add those together. 0.0060 plus 0.00035. And then what's the rule for adding and subtracting? The rule for adding and subtracting, Dan, is decimal places. How many decimal places in the first one? 4. How many decimal places in the second one? 5. How many decimal places am I going to go to? 4. What's sitting where the 4th decimal place is? That 3, is that 3 going to stay a 3 or become a 4? So the final answer is going to be 0.0064. Now I'll write it in scientific notation. 6.4 times 10 to the negative 3. Half mark for the 6.4, half mark for the times 10 to the negative 3. Convert. I'm going to write down what they gave me. I want seconds to vanish. Where is it going to go in the next fraction? Bottom, you say. And I guess milliseconds, which is what I want to have left behind. But this is wrong. I haven't yet done the metric prefix. Milli is 10 to the what? Don't think milli's 10 to the 6th. I think mega's 10 to the 6th. I think milli's smaller. The nice thing is you don't have to memorize it. It's on your green sheet. Isn't it 10 to negative 3? Where does the 10 to negative 3 go? I don't memorize top or bottom. I memorize where the milli isn't. So in this case, on the bottom. You get 3,000 even? Or 3 times 10 to the 3rd? B is a two-step. I can tell because we're going from kilo to milli, from one thing to another thing. I'm going to go from kilo to gram to milli. 2 steps. Going to write down what they gave me. Get rid of kilo, bring in grams. Kilo 10 to the 3rd, he says. Where does it go? Where the kilo isn't. If I stop there, I'm in grams. But I'm going to keep going now, get rid of grams, and introduce milligrams. And milli, we just said, was 10 to the negative 3. So I guess it's going to be 25 times 10 to the 3rd divided by 10 to the negative 3. And I get a 2, 5, and 6 zeros. And you can write that. I think I'm going to write this one in scientific notation because it's less work. But if you wrote 2, 5 with 6 zeros, no more, no less, I'm good with that. I'm going to go 2.5 times 10 to the 7th milligrams. The unit conversion ones, it's all or nothing. Sorry, no part marks. And if you didn't put units, I would take a half mark off and say, go work for Verizon. Next page over. Ooh, this is also going to be a little two-stepper. 3,240 gigagrams. I'm going to get rid of gigagrams. Giga 10 to the 9th? I always end up memorizing these when I teach it in physics, and then I forget them. So I've got them right now because I've been taught this lesson so many times. Get rid of grams, Emma, and I want micrograms. Micro 10 to the negative 6? And again, where the micro isn't. I'll bet you this is going to give me one in scientific notation because this is big. Times 10 to the 9th divided by 10 to the negative 6. And I get, 3.24 times 10 to the 18th. Micrograms. By the way, what's the block order tomorrow? Do I see you first thing tomorrow? I think, isn't it C, D, A, B? I think. So I don't see you during a flex block between now and your test. Tomorrow, if during flex, if your flex teacher is okay with it, you certainly can politely ask if you can come to my room for help. Or I'm clearing my calendar. I am around tomorrow after school. Okay? 4 decades into seconds. Okay, this isn't going to be a metric chain. I'm just going to kind of use stuff that I've memorized because I'm, growing up. Still going to write down what they gave me. 4.6. I decided to abbreviate decades with DEC. D I thought was just days, and I knew I was going to be using days later on. I didn't want to confuse myself. And I think DE, isn't that a metric prefix, or is DA a metric prefix? I can never remember. I never use the decas and the dacas and those ones. Is DA one on there?
Yeah, DA.
Okay. I might have. Anyways, I want decades to cancel. Well, it said 1 decade is 10 years. You might have done that in your head, and Lena, if you did, that's fine. Like if you said, I know 4.6 decades is 46 years, and you started there, good. Lena, what can I change years into? Days. Now, if you had, because we did it a bunch of times, if you happen to have that it's 8,000 something hours memorized, you could go straight to hours, knock yourself out. You've got an extra conversion factor that I don't have. But yeah, I would go to days. Years on the bottom, days on the top, 365 to 1. Cool. Marcus, what can I convert days into? Sure. 24 hours is a day. Ashley, what can I convert hours into? How many? Thank you. Since you remembered that, we can use your shortcut. Otherwise, I would go to minutes to seconds. But Ashley says, hey, I took the time to memorize it. There's 3,600 seconds in an hour. Good for you. Saved us a little bit of time. Well, it's going to be big. 4.6 times 10 times 365 times 24 times 3,600. Do you get... Oh, I'm missing a decimal. I did 46 instead of 4.6. Do you get 1450656 and then 3 zeros? I would give you full credit. I'm probably going to write that in scientific notation, 1.450656. If you rounded off, I'd give you credit, but we're doing conversions. We probably want to write down the exact values, not the, it's roughly close to about. So for conversions, try not to round off. But anyways, 1.450656, 1.450656 times 10 to the 9th seconds. Ooh, E. Gonna write down, what they gave me as a 2-level fraction. So I'm gonna write down 325 kilometers over nanoseconds. Okay. Danica, I got to get rid of kilometers and I got to get rid of nanoseconds. Pick which one do you want to do first. Okay. Where is kilometers right now? So it's going to go on and I'll go to meters and then I'll bring in the new one. So kilometers, meters, and is 10 to the 3rd? Yes. And then meters on the bottom, and I want centimeters on the top. Danica, centi, 10 to the negative 2. Cool. Nanoseconds. Where's nanoseconds right now, Zach? Where's it going to go in my... And nano, is nano -9? I think the ends go together, if I recall. I mean, if you ever are taking a course where they force you to memorize them, if you haven't clued in, tera is 12, there's 2 T's. Nano is -9, there's kind of 3 N's there. Mega is millions. Those are a few little patterns that kind of help. Now I want to get rid of seconds, so it's going to go on the top, and I'm going to introduce tera seconds. Tera is 12, right? 10 to the 12. I have no idea what the answer is here, except I'm pretty sure it's going to be big. I think we're going to get an answer in scientific notation. Divided by 10 to the negative 2 divided by 10 to the negative 9 times 10 to the 12. Did you get 3.25? Is it times 10 to the 28th? Centimeters per terasecond. I have no idea what units those are, but I do know it's a measure of speed. All right. On your test, there's going to be some questions where I just ask you to do sig figs. Who cares about scientific notation? 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs, 1.25 times 0.5. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs, so that 2 is going to become a 3. Did anybody write that in scientific notation? Okay. I got one student in my other block who just does everything in scientific notation all the time. So, okay, 6.3 times 10 to the negative 1. 3 sig figs. Ooh, how many sig figs here? Not 3. That's 4. Although I'm going to go to 3 sig figs in my final answer. 51.3 times 3.94. 202 even? Or 2.02 times 10 to the 2. 3 sig figs, 4 sig figs. I'm going to go to 3 sig figs. Ooh, the third sig fig, is that 0? Is that 0 going to stay as 0 or become a 1? So is the answer 511? No, it's got to be 511 what? 1,000, because that's where the 0 was sitting. Or 5.11 times 10 to the 5th. Adding and subtracting. Nicole, the rule for adding and subtracting, totally different. The rule for adding and subtracting is not sig figs, it's decimal places. 3 decimal places, 002. 5 decimal places, I'm going to go to 3 decimal places. I'm going to type this in as is. How many decimal places did I say? That 5 going to stay a 5 or become a 6? So 38.126. Two decimal places, 1 decimal place. I'm going to go to 1 decimal place. I did this morning. I was typing in a hurry and I made a sloppy mistake. Can you see it? What? No. 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places. But to this one, I heard someone whisper it here. What did I do? It's subtract. Be really careful on quizzes and tests because it's easy for your brain. I'll give you an example. You're going to find this year, I do a lot of math in my head. I'll try and show off. I can do some pretty complicated math in my head. But on a test, I would do 2 times 3 on a calculator. Because the number of times I've been in a rush and gone 2 times 3 is 5, because my brain associates a 2 and a 3 with the number 5 because of adding. Drives me crazy. So just kind of really get paranoid and vigilant whenever you're doing a quiz or a test. So yeah, I went, wait a minute. That should have been subtract. How many decimal places am I going to go to, Emma? Which is the 8. Is that 8 going to stay an 8 or become a 9? Or as I like to think, yeah, 9? Sorry, little German humor, nothing. Okay. Tough audience. Turn the page over. Wow, Mr. Dewick, number 6. Okay. I didn't panic. Mr. Dewick is not going to throw something at me that's unfair that I don't know how to do. I must know how to do this. So here we go. Nick, I wrote down what they gave me because that's how I start all of these. What did they give me? I read it 48 parrots, although I abbreviated. What can I change parrots into? I can? Well, then I said I want parrots to cancel, zebras on the top. How many zebras is how many parrots? Sorry? So how many zebras is how many parrots? One zebra is 5. Go in the order they give you. Not that hard. You can switch them. If I stop there, that would be zebras. What can I change zebras into? Monkeys? How many monkeys is how many zebras? See, like that. That's how it's done. Okay. What can I change monkeys into? What's the conversion factor here? I guess 6 monkeys, 1 gorilla. What can I change gorillas into? Lions? I'll do a cursive L so you know it's not a 1. What's the conversion factor here? By the way, look up. I had somebody last class say, Mr. Dewick, I didn't go 2 to 5. I went 1 to 2.5. Is that the same ratio, the same conversion factor? Yeah, it is. In fact, you could also go 4 to 10. That's still 2 to 5. You could go 40 to 100. I usually go with the simplest one, but sometimes for valid reasons, you might do a different one. Anyways. Hey, and that gives me lions. Yeah, that's worth making a little note. Yes, we're there. So it's going to be 48 times 8 times 2 divided by 5 divided by 6 divided by 5. It's 5.12, I believe. Yes, I went from memory. I didn't do that one in my head. Lion. Now, if you got that, 3 out of 3. If you did not get that, but you wrote down what they gave you, I would give you 1 mark just for doing that because you're buying into my system. If you tried to build some kind of a chain, but you just made a mistake, but you tried to build a chain, I would give you 2 out of 3. The 3rd mark is for being able to build the complete chain and enter it into your calculator and get it all right. Is that all right? John estimates the height of a lamppost to be 8 meters. The actual height, well, absolute error is going to be 8 minus 7.6. It's going to be 0.4 meters. Percentage error is going to be 0.4 divided by which one? The correct value, which in this case is 7.6, and then turn it into a percentage. Oh, I did times. Divided by 7.6 times 100. Y'all get 5.263. You know what? I'm going to go 5.3%. If you said 5.26, that's fine. If you said 5.2, I'd probably take a half mark off because I'd say learn to round off, don't chop off. Right? Anyways, 3%. Can you give yourself a lovely score, please, out of 22? And if you need to lawyer with me, now is the time.